Ladies and gentlemen, men of Morehouse, fellow alumni, friends joining us via live web stream this morning, good morning. We have a wonderful program planned for you today. On behalf of Dr. Franklin and the entire college family, I welcome you to the 2012 Alumni Day Crown Forum. This is the official time in the life of the college when alumni and students of Morehouse College come together to celebrate the achievements and dedication of two outstanding Morehouse men who have helped to make Morehouse great, Dean Brailsford Reese Brazil and Dr. Howard Washington Thurman. We hope that something shared today about their lives and other Morehouse alumni will inspire you to deepen your commitment and support for Morehouse College. Now, welcome to the podium, Brother Reginald Sharpe, a junior religion major and vice president of our chapel assistance program, to bring our opening prayer. Mr. Sharpe.
For this morning's prayer, I would like to read an excerpt from a prophetic and poetic prayer entitled, "Who Am I?" which was written by Dietrich Bonhoeffer just 1 month before his execution. I invite you to close your eyes and meditate on these words. Who am I? They often tell me I would step from my cell's confinement calmly, cheerfully, firmly, like a squire from his country house. Who am I? They often tell me I would talk to my warden freely and friendly and clearly, as though it were mine to command. Who am I? They also tell me I would bear the days of misfortune equably, smilingly, proudly, like one accustomed to win. Am I then really all that which other men tell of? Or am I only what I know of myself, restless and longing and sick, like a bird in a cage, struggling for breath, as though hands were compressing my throat, yearning for colors, for flowers, for the voices of birds, thirsting for words of kindness and neighborlessness, trembling with anger at despotisms and petty humiliation, tossing in expectation of great events, powerlessly trembling for friends at an infinite distance, weary and empty at praying, at thinking, at making, faint and ready to say farewell to it all. Who am I, this or the other? Am I one person today and tomorrow another? Am I both at once, a hypocrite before others and before myself, a contemptibly woebegone weakling? Or is something within me still like a beaten army fleeing in disorder from victory already achieved? Who am I? They mock me, these lonely questions of mine. Whoever I am, thou knowest, O God, I am thine. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Sharpe. And now, to bring greetings on behalf of the Morehouse College Pre-Alumni Association, please welcome Mr. Michael Cowherd, President of the Morehouse College Pre-Alumni Association.
President Franklin, Association President Mcgee, distinguished members of the Platform Party, visiting alumni, and those watching around the world, faculty and staff, students, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. My name is Michael Anthony Cowherd Jr., a junior kinesiology major from Irvington, New Jersey, and I am the 2011-2012 Morehouse College Pre-Alumni Association President. On behalf of the members of the Pre-Alumni, I thank you for joining us today, this morning, for the 2012 Alumni Day Crown Forum, honoring the lives of Dean B.R. Brazil and Dr. Howard Thurman. At this time, Will all officers, members, and those of the court of the Morehouse Pre-Alumni Association please stand and be recognized. Thank you. The Pre-Alumni Association is a charter organization at Morehouse that is open to all students for membership. Founded in 1983 by the National Alumni Association, we are a leadership development organization. There is a Chinese proverb that reads, "If you are planning for a year, sow rice. If you are planning for a decade, plant trees. However, if you are planning for a lifetime, educate people." For 145 years, Morehouse College has been educating African American men, and our alumni have played a crucial role in helping her fulfill her mission. So this morning, we are honored to co-sponsor Alumni Day, Crown Forum, again this year, and look forward to hearing an exciting message from Professor Eddie Glaude. Thank you. Now, I invite Mr. Goodgame to bring our occasion.
Thank you, Mr. Coward. It is often quoted that once a Morehouse man bears the insignia of Morehouse College, we expect him to do exceptionally well. Each year, Morehouse students and alumni come together on Alumni Day to celebrate the common bond, the ties that bind us to each other, our relentless pursuit for excellence. Today, we honor two such pillars of our alumni community who have been examples of excellence for nearly 90 years as we honor their lives and legacies of Dean Brailsford Reese Brazil, a member of the class of 1927, and Dr. Howard Washington Thurman, a member of the class of 1923. Both were Renaissance men of their day. For more than 145 years, Morehouse has produced leaders in higher education who set the bar for excellence and service. Today, we celebrate their contributions to Morehouse, the nation, and the world. A commitment to academic excellence and service to humanity were of significant importance to both Dean Brazil and Dr. Thurman. Dean Brazil served Morehouse for more than 40 years, first as an instructor of economics from 1928 to 1934, then as chairman of the Department of Economics and Business Administration from 1934 to 1946, as academic dean and dean of men until his retirement in 1969. In the latter years of his time at Morehouse, he was key in establishing Phi Beta Kappa at Morehouse College, thereby becoming one of the first Morehouse men to be inducted into this prestigious academic society. Born in 1899, Howard Washington Thurman finished Morehouse at the top of his class as valedictorian, was ordained as a Baptist minister in 1925 after completing his studies at Colgate-Rochester Theological Seminary. Later, he would earn his doctorate at Haverford College and become dean of the Rankin Chapel at Howard University, and served there from 1932 for 12 years. He then became the first African-American dean of the Marsh Chapel at Boston University. He served there from 1953 to 1965. By that time, he had also founded a church, authored 20 books, served the needs of the religious and academic communities from coast to coast. Ironically, both of these giants died in 1981, actually my freshman year at Morehouse, but the impact of their service to the academy and humanity will live on for years to come. I invite you to read more about their phenomenal lives in our program today. Both were voices for equality in a world of injustice. Both were accomplished authors on civil rights and civil liberties, and were recognized for their expertise on the religious and economic impact on discrimination on African Americans in this country. On the 44th anniversary of the assassination of Dr. King, the college's most celebrated alumnus, how special it is to pay tribute to two of the men who were very special influences in the life of Dr. King. Their dedication to Morehouse, the Academy, the Civil Rights Movement, the global humanity leaves a legacy that should be treasured forever. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our occasion. And now it is time to bring to the podium the president of the Morehouse College National Alumni Association, Trustee Kevin Mcgee, a member of the class of 1993, who will introduce our speaker for the morning. Ladies and gentlemen, Trustee Kevin R. Mcgee.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to greet you today on behalf of the National Alumni Association. I welcome family, friends, and most importantly, our alumni here today. Please give them a hand. Dr. Eddie S. Glaude, class of '89, is currently the chair of the Center for African American Studies and the William S. Todd Professor of Religion and African American Studies at Princeton University, where he received his PhD. He is a founding member and senior fellow of the Jamestown Project. His first book, Exodus, Religion, Race, and Nation in Early 19th Century Black America, won the Modern Language Association's William Sanders Scarborough Book Prize. He is also the editor of Is It Nation Time? And I say that again, Is It Nation Time, which is contemporary essays on black power and black nationalism. In the words of a noted philosopher of our genre, Chuck D of the School of Public Enemy, we're definitely happy that he continues to fight the power. He's widely regarded as one of the brightest young intellectuals of today. Dr. Glaude offers a critical and insightful view on the problems currently facing Black America, as well as the nation at large. He is author of several books, with the latest being A Shade of Blue, Pragmatism and Politics on Black America. According to Cornel West, Dr. Glaude is the towering example of intellectualism of this generation, and no one else like him has emerged on the intellectual scene. Currently, he is a regular commentator on the Tavis Smiley Show, as well as the Brian Lear Show. Born from the coast of Mississippi in the small town of Moss Point, it is my pleasure to introduce you today an exemplary example of a Morehouse man who has chosen to pursue education while at the same time confronting the miseducation of the black community. It's my pleasure to introduce a scholar, a Renaissance man, and a revolutionary in a suit, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Eddie S. Glaude. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Mcgee, for that gracious introduction. Thank you, Brother Goodgame, for your elegance and brilliance. Thank you to all those who are friends and colleagues and teachers, people who I adore, who I am simply blessed to see again. I don't have much time, so I'm going to just jump into this. Is that okay? Y'all all right? So President Franklin and other members on the dais, I am honored to be here with you this morning. Returning to Morehouse has been, and I believe will be, an exhilarating experience. Stepping on this campus is akin to experiencing the past once again. Memories, good and bad, flood in. For it was here that I first heard my own voice, felt the uniqueness of my own presence, and reached for a sense of self that extended beyond my little hometown on the coast of Mississippi. Morehouse made it possible for me to broaden my horizons, to imagine myself apart from the narrow confines of my childhood formation, and with cherished friends to try on new selves. Here I learned the basic art of living, that my life was indeed a canvas upon which I was to create. Here I learned the fundamental lesson expressed by Samuel Beckett, that I will fail, and that the challenge is to fail again and to fail better. It was indeed an exhilarating time full of experimentation and growth. So I want to thank President Franklin for extending the invitation and giving me an opportunity to talk with you on this special day. I've come to cherish such moments. Y'all all right? I'm going to check in on you. I've come to cherish such moments, for in these trying times, too many dare to speak out of a selfish intention. Their words carry with them the disease of our current days, that most are too concerned about their own status and celebrity, that justice works only as a trope and its invocation as a sign of the inherent goodness of the person speaking or their right to get in front of us and lead. Too many merely want to exhibit their intellect or to cast a spell with their charismatic power as they entertain. That isn't my intention. This is not how I will honor the legacy of President Franklin's time with us. I will honor his energy and spirit-filled commitment to Morehouse with a meditation I hope best fitted for this moment. So in 1961, Howard Thurman published The Inward Journey. It was the third volume of Deep is the Hunger, a series of meditations originally written for the weekly bulletin of Marsh Chapel at Boston University. Its aim was, quote, to focus the mind and heart upon God as the eternal source and goal of life. To find him as companion and presence is to do justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with him, end quote. Thurman often called for us to risk looking deeply into ourselves, to confront the fact of who we are, and in doing so find stillness in the waterspouts of God. Here, the arduous task of self-examination constitutes a pathway to a knowledge that actually extends beyond adolescent self-reliance or narrow modern conceptions of the individual self. Truly knowing oneself involves grasping, however tenuously, the vastness of who we are in communion with others. As he put the point in A Strange Freedom, to be known is to find one's place and hold it against all the hordes of hell. This is to know one's value for one's self alone. It is to honor and act as one's very own. It is to live a life that is one's very own. It is to bow before an altar that is one's very own. It is to worship a God who is one's very own, end quote. Thurman is not recommending here a retreat from the world into some mystical domain beyond the miseries of now. As Walter Fluker and Catherine Tumber so brilliantly put it, for Thurman, quote, character rests on one's inner moral authority and integrity, which are garnered from the tragic and often unbearable exigencies of life, end quote. Life matters here deeply. Y'all all right? Put on your thinking hats. I'm a professor. All right? Life matters here deeply, but a genuine experience of the self, an inward journey, opens one up to the sanctity of others, even in the face of life's tragedies. It is the pathway for understanding, if I'm right, the unity that binds each of us as children of God, that turns us toward the world with democratic energy and purpose. Over the last year, I've found myself turning to this slender volume for sustenance, and today I want to turn your attention to one of its meditations entitled, Accept Our Fact. Accept Our Fact. I believe it to be quite relevant in this moment of transition for Morehouse. Of course, Thurman spoke at the level of the individual, but I want to extend his insights to this treasured institution, Dr. Franklin. In short, I want to talk just for a moment about the inward journey of Morehouse College. In Accept Our Fact, Thurman powerfully insists on the uniqueness of who we are and the challenge of embracing that uniqueness in the face of deep crisis and the need for transformation. Accepting our fact turns out to be quite difficult in that it entails the daunting task of being very specific with our particulars. After all, your life is uniquely your own. No one else has my face, for example, even though many repeatedly tell me that I look exactly like my father. Exactly, of course, is an exaggeration. My face carries with it the burdens of my life lived thus far. Its lines, its creases reflect my joys and tears, no one else's. In fact, many of the tears were caused by the father I so resemble. To be sure, the joys and wounds of our lives are inextricably bound up, and the knotted ball makes up the tangled emotional and psychical stuff that constitutes the uniqueness of me and you. We are, to borrow a phrase from William James, two storied selves. And no matter how much we try to escape it, our fact is ours alone. Our bill of particulars that moves us about. And for Thurman, embracing this constitutes the ground upon which we must act creatively and redemptively, the soil within which our imaginations grow, and it is here that the difficult task of self-examination begins. Am I all right? Am I working on time? Y'all following me? Now, when we think about Morehouse College, what must we accept? We know of the grand history of this place, from Augusta, Georgia to here. Right now, the fact that we were founded to educate black men in a country that denied them dignity and standing, that we dared to stand up to those, even among us, who would limit the possibilities of our intellectual capacities and say that we should only learn to toil in fields or factories, that we educated black men to be stewards of justice, to be race men in the best sense of the word, that the likes of Dean Brazil and Howard Thurman and Benjamin Elijah Mays and Martin Luther King Jr. and so many others walked these hallowed halls. What must we accept as our fact, Morehouse? There's an ugly side of who we are, yes? Have we accepted the warts that disfigure? And the time spent with our heads in the sand like ostriches, mimicking courage in the face of fear? Have we accepted the facts of now, that chronic financial troubles truly threaten the quality of what we do? And that what followed from this fact is that we've underinvested in human capital, that our professors teach too many classes and are underpaid, that our infrastructure is crumbling all about us, and that as a result of both, constraints have been placed upon what our faculty can offer our students. Have we accepted our facts? That the context that brought Morehouse College into existence, that established our mission, has dramatically changed, that the days of Jim Crow are no more. That HBCUs are no longer the only place where the best and brightest faculty of color exist. And the landscape of American higher education has shifted as elite schools have invested in generous financial aid packages that enable them to recruit the best and brightest black men with the allure of a free education. Have we accepted our facts? That so many of us who love this institution retreat to a nostalgia for the past in order to evade the challenges of now, or simply to justify the status quo. That our glorious and ideal past and traditions have become an idol, and we've become fixed like stone as if we gazed upon the horror and hideous features of Gorgon. Thurman notes that often more difficult to accept our fact is to learn how to deal with our fact. It is difficult to contend with the ugliness of me, the wound that rests at the center of who I am. I've evaded it most of my life. Now, I don't want to suggest that the wound is some fixed objective fact of the matter, that it can't be changed, that memory or rememory can't work on it, that the intrusion of other facts might not enable a revision of our understanding of the painful moment that has carried us in so far forth. We are constantly negotiating, consciously or not, the experiences that move us about. And I don't read Thurman's invocation of fact as somehow suggesting something permanent about it. His use of the possessive pronoun our suggests, at least to me, that he's transgressing familiar fact-value distinctions. We possess it, and that possession matters. Y'all all right? Yes, sir. But for Thurman, how we respond to the realities of who we are affect our dispositions toward the world and our orientation toward ourselves. As he writes, it may be, quote, that we reject all resources as to no avail, and we abandon ourselves to our fact, taking refuge in bitterness and despair. Our heart grows cold, and life becomes a great and unyielding weariness, end quote. Or we may reach for some external resource, something beyond us completely, because we've exhausted our inner vitalities, giving ourselves over to something else. In other words, we can shout a bitter cry, or we can seek refuge and escape. But if either fails, Thurman suggests, and they most assuredly will, we are left with the inescapable task of learning how to live with our facts. That learning entails a turning inward, a journey through the muck and mess, a journey through the funk of who we are, often with cherished others in order to understand ourselves in the fullness of who we can be. Morehouse College must answer the daunting question: how will we deal with our facts as they are? Retreating to the past will not suffice. Finding comfort in the familiar will seal our fate. How we deal with this moment involves a creative and imaginative invasion of the future, that we will dare to imagine anew what it means to educate a black man in the 21st century. What it means to educate men and women in the 21st century. We are not the Harvard of the South. We're not Amherst or Haverford. We are Morehouse. We are Morehouse. What that means in its details should be evidenced in a unique admissions policy. What that means should be evidenced in how we embrace a green revolution to transform our physical plant. What that means should be evidenced and experienced in a curriculum that unsettles and invites our young men to explore the fullness of who they can be. It should be gleaned in the way those who have been chosen to lead and steward this place. It should be answered in the context of serious introspection as we delve deeply into what we have become in order to give birth to what we will be. I'm coming home. Henry, I'm coming home. In February of 1967, at the centennial banquet of Morehouse College, in front of President Benjamin Elijah Mays and President-elect Hugh Glaude, Howard Thurman delivered a speech entitled "The Public and Private Results of Collegiate Education in the Life of Negro Americans." Thurman talked about the significance of a Morehouse education and placed important emphasis on its private results, President Franklin. For him, quote, the most important thing in life for any man at any time is the development of his own best self, the incentive to actualize his own potentials, end quote. Here we see clearly, I believe, Thurman's unique perfectionism, an idea that each of us has a vocation to ascend into higher forms of excellence. At Morehouse, under the conditions of its formation, Thurman argued this perfectionist impulse was evidenced in the radical insistence that men of Morehouse were human beings. And that assertion alone challenged the foundations of white supremacy, that our backs were not bent, that we stood in time and space as dignified and powerful men of God. Both worked its wonders in the quiet places of the self and emboldened those who absorbed this message. This experience, listen, this experience of oneself as a human being stands for Thurman as the first phase of the private result of a Morehouse education. Its second phase, according to Thurman, was expressed during the years of President Mays. It is the experience, listen, it is the experience of one's mind as one's own. No need for external validation. No need to insist on one's humanity to others. Instead, we set the standards of excellences that define the life that is uniquely our own. As such, Thurman writes, quote, the experience of one's mind is its own validation. And when this happens, we are ready to release all that we have experienced in training and discipline and equipment to the problems and issues and the demands of our times, end quote. Thurman only saluted the future in this speech. He didn't say much about the future. He didn't offer any hints about what might follow. But here we stand now. What is our face? I want to suggest that the experience of oneself as open to the possibilities of tomorrow, sets us on a course in which history's invocation cannot snuff out the creativity, daring, and imagination requisite for vital and meaningful living, to experience oneself as open to the possibilities of tomorrow. Here, the past does not count exclusively. It is the open-ended nature of the world of action, the expectancy of tomorrow that calls us to act today without guarantee that what we do now and how we do it may save us all. Morehouse, and I want you to tell this to all your partners who ain't here. We cannot look backward in this moment. We must look within. There, if I'm reading Thurman right, in the face of our facts, we find the fullest expression of all the sacrifices that have made us possible, and there we find the courage, Doc, to step into the next moment in the grand life of our beloved institution. And we do so with the understanding, just as I began, that young men walking around this campus, young men among us who are trying on new selves, who are reaching for higher forms of excellences, these men do so that they can, with the confidence of a mind of their own, save a future for our children and our children's children. I will end with this. Thurman began this speech with a moment of silence for all of those who had gone on to receive their crown. And he prayed, quote, "We died, but you who live must do a harder thing than dying is. For you must think, and ghosts shall drive you on," end quote. With the powerful wind of Morehouse's past beneath our wings, let us fly boldly into the future that awaits. Dear old Morehouse, it's in our hands.
Let's give our speaker today, Dr. Eddie Glaude, another warm round of applause for inciting us, inspiring us, prodding and provoking us, stirring and stimulating our intellectual side today. We thank you once again for your service. At this time, I invite to the podium alumnus Earl Nero, Executive Director of the National Alumni Association, to present our 2012 BR Brazil Award today. Joining him will be our 2011 BR Brazil Award recipient, Mr. Kenneth Williams, and of course, our President, Kevin Mcgee. Please join him.
Good morning. In 1983, to commemorate the life of this Dean of Men, academic dean, department chair, author, and family man, the National Alumni Association and the Pre-Alumni Association, in conjunction with the Office of Alumni Relations, came together on the anniversary of Dean Brazil's death to name the student who best exemplified the ideals of a Morehouse man. The students nominated by both peers and faculty members have demonstrated a record of good citizenship, good conduct, and decorum, have rendered excellent service to the college and community, demonstrated by traits of honesty, integrity, moral character, and concern for other students via involvement in campus activities and community service. From a group of nominees that are listed in your program, there were 8 finalists who withstood the scrutiny of a rigorous essay writing portion and interview. Each was eminently qualified to be the BR Brazil Award winner. In the end, only one student can be named as the BR Brazil Award Scholarship recipient. At this time, I would like to invite all of our finalists to stand and be recognized. And now, the results. As I call your name, please come to the stage to receive your award. Our second place winner is Mr. Chad A. Foster, class of 2013. This year's winner is Mr. Travis Randall, class of 2012. Mr. Randall is a senior political science major from Chicago, Illinois. During his time at Morehouse, he served as an intern for State Representative Ken Duncan in his native Illinois, interned to the Morehouse College General Counsel, and interned to AfriCare. Mr. Randall currently serves as president of the Student Government Association and is a student representative on the Morehouse College Board of Trustees. He currently has a 3.18 GPA. Mr. Randall, we salute you.
Let's give our winners and all of our contestants a round of applause, please. We're so proud of them. And we encourage you to please apply. Each spring we hold the award, we provide the award, and we ask that we invite you to do so. It comes along with a $1,000 cash prize, so please apply. Thank you. For more than 100 years, Morehouse has produced authors, educators, and agents of change for the nation and the world. Today, we have yet another great opportunity to celebrate the achievements and work of our Morehouse young scholars, emerging scholars and authors. Please welcome to the stage Dr. Hassan Jeffries, a member of the class of 1994, for a special presentation on behalf of a new generation of Morehouse alumni, authors, scholars, and educators. Dr. Jeffries.
Good afternoon. Morehouse College has always sent forth her sons into the world, expecting them to do what no one else has done before. As Morehouse men, we learn that success is not enough, that greatness is our goal. I stand before you today representing a group of alumni in the Academy who have taken this charge to heart. Between 1996 and 2009, this group of scholars, 14 in number, former history majors all, have gone on to earn their PhDs in history. That means that since 1996, this tiny college on a red clay hill in Georgia has produced PhDs at a rate greater than any of the Ivy League colleges. Moreover, since 2004, this group of 14 has published no less than 15 books with major university presses. Books that are defining and redefining the study of African American, African, and U.S. history. Books that have won awards from major national organizations. Books that are shaping the discourse on such topics as the Atlantic slave trade, civil rights, black power, and hip hop. Books that are required reading in history departments across the country. And although we earned our PhDs from some of the nation's most prestigious programs. And although we now teach and are tenured at some of the nation's most elite research universities, we proudly declare, first and foremost, that we are Morehouse scholars. We are scholars who learned what we know here at Morehouse, under the feet and under the tutelage of scholars such as Marcellus Barksdale, who taught us to look to the past, to share it today, so that we can build a brighter future, a more democratic future tomorrow. If this were a candle in the dark, this is the part in the program where the brother would say, therefore, on behalf of my brother PhDs, which includes the current chairman of the History Department, Dr. Frederick Knight, on behalf of these sons of Morehouse, on behalf of these scholars of Morehouse, and in honor of President Franklin, whose commitment to the humanities is true, who understands and has demonstrated that a key component of being a Morehouse man, being a Renaissance man, is engaging in a life of the mind, I am proud to announce the establishment of the Robert Franklin Jr. Morehouse Scholars Special Reference Collection. And at this point, I would invite Dr. Franklin to please join me on stage. And as he makes his way, this being Alumni Day, my brothers and I have dipped into our pockets to make a small down payment on a greater contribution to come. And so we present this check. But we also present to you, Dr. Franklin, a set of books that we all have written, 15 books in all, signed and autographed and dedicated to you for your scholarship, your commitment, and leadership to serve as the foundation of this special reference collection. Thank you very much.
To the trustees, faculty, staff, alumni, to the men of Morehouse, to these extraordinary finalists, and to SGA President Randall, we are grateful and we honor our beloved leaders, Dean Brazil, Dr. Thurman, who inspired us so much, to our extraordinary speaker and visionary, Dr. Glaude. We thank you for your presence. Thank you for coming home. We will take his words to heart as we peer into the future, fortified by the wisdom of Thurman and the exegesis of Glaude. President Mcgee, Dr. Draper, Henry Goodgame, and all of the leaders who gather behind us. This is an extraordinary time when the sons of a college return to say thank you for what you have taught us and invested in us, to make a monetary contribution to the college, and above all, to supply. And these gentlemen, I want you to know this is a part of your future, to capture and codify knowledge and make it available for those who will follow you. I want all of you to become writers, effective writers and publishers of your thought and wisdom. So we thank you for a wonderful day. We look forward to an extraordinary afternoon. There are guests here from around the country. Students, pay attention to the notices regarding this afternoon's lectures and presentations, 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 7 p.m. today, and then all of next week. This is an extraordinary time of renaissance and rebirth for all of us. We look forward to seeing you. Thank you.
We certainly have had a wonderful time here on Alumni Day 2012. To those alumni in the audience, to those graduating seniors who are present today, and those who are joining us via the web stream, we hope that on Alumni Day, every Alumni Day from here on, will launch our end of the year push for student scholarships for the end of the year. So we invite you to go now and to giving.morehouse.edu and support the future scholars from Morehouse College, like you saw in Dr. Eddie Glaude. Education and excellence must be paid for, gentlemen. Excellence in education and scholarship must be paid for. There are no longer any free rides. So we need to make sure that we, as Morehouse men, stand in the gap where we need to stand for our young brothers. They're doing the work in the classroom. Our professors are making their brains sweat. We need to make sure that we're on top of helping support them. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for joining us for Alumni Day. Please rise for the singing of the college hymn. Thank you. BR Brazil,